So I'm finishing up the coaster, and over on this side, and I've already put the part in obviously, but over on this side had this little plastic part, made some kind of loop. And of course this was the part that I think in an earlier vlog I called it the part that I will break off, and eventually I did break it off actually on camera. I think it was in episode 1, 2, I don't know. It'll come out on video. Anyway, broke that off, and I thought about gluing it back on, but I just knew if I glued that back on, it would break off again. So I drilled it out, and I was going to just stick a piece of wire in there and just have it sticking out. And I thought, no, I kind of like the idea of a loop. But I tried to create a loop that looked about like that, and I utterly failed at it several times. So I thought, well, how about something a little different looking? So I took some of the copper wire that was used. These handles are actually made of copper wire that comes with the kit. And boy, that was an adventure bending those into shape. But anyway, I just wrapped it around that forward groove of the metal part on the paintbrush there. Just wrapped it around a few times, pulled it out, cut it to size, drilled the hole out. And I thought, okay, that kind of looks like something that might it might actually need to be there. Once it's painted, hopefully it'll just kind of blend in. But I stuck it in there, and of course I put super glue. Now I put some super glue on the end of the metal part, stuck it in there, and as you would expect it to, a lot of it blobbed out and got all around this edge here and just made kind of a rough edge there. But then I remembered that I had watched on, again, I bring him up a lot, but he's a great modeler, Martin Kovac on Night Shift Scale Models. I had seen him use on several occasions super glue debonder, and I forgot that I had gotten some of this stuff. I got this stuff from Bob Smith Industries. It was founded by a guy named Ted Jones. I just made that up. Anyway, they call it Uncure, but it's basically debonder. I remembered I had that, so I thought, well, let me put it to use. So I put some in a little palette, got an old cheap brush, and I just took the end of the brush, dipped it in the debonder, and began just brushing it like that. And I'd wipe it off on a piece of paper towel, and I'd get some more on there, and I'd do that. I'll be doggone, it cleaned that thing right up. And I'm really impressed with that. Martin knows his stuff. Anyway, if you've ever put metal parts on a model and weren't happy with how the glue kind of looked around it, the cure is Uncure. Worked great. Now another little metal part that's going to go on here is going to be an antenna that goes right in there, and it's going to stick straight up, of course, and it's just a little piece of wire that comes with the kit. And I've always been concerned when I ship these that somebody reaching into the box might reach in a little too hard and poke their finger on the end of that. And I was thinking, well, I guess I need to put something on, maybe I need to start putting something on the end of it to prevent that. And I remembered that when I was in the Army, all of our antennas had this little round plug on the end. It was kind of round on top and then tapered on the bottom. And I don't know if it functioned to do anything other than protect the end of the antenna from somebody sticking it in their eye. But I thought, that's good precedence for me to do the same kind of thing. And a simple way to do this, and I don't know where I learned this. This is one of those things, when you're building models long enough, there's things eventually you just know, and you don't remember how you know it. You don't know if you figured it out, if somebody else showed you. This is one of those things. I've been doing this so long, but I just haven't done it in a while. I'd forgotten about it, that I don't remember where it came from. But I've got a blob of super glue here on my utility palette that I use for all sorts of nasty stuff. And I'm just going to stick the end of the wire in there and just roll it around and get a good blob on there. And then I'm going to turn it down like that so that it kind of will blob down to the end. And then I'm going to take some more stuff from Bob Smith Industries, founded by Ted Jones, or whatever name I made up. This is Instaset. This will just make the super glue dry instantly. And I'm not going to spray it on there. I'm just going to take the little applicator lid and I'm just going to put some on here and just let that run down. I don't want to touch the blob because if I touch it, it will deform it. But if I let this run down onto it, it'll dry that fairly quickly. There, I've got a blob of the Instaset on there, and I'll just let that sit there for a minute. And it's hardening and curing that super glue. I don't even know if you can see it. It's hardening and curing that super glue, and then I can just flick off the Instaset. And I've got a nice little round cap or cover or whatever you want to call it there for the antenna. And on our vehicles, those were painted. They weren't painted. I think they were made of plastic. It was a dark gray plastic, so German gray would be a perfect color for this. But it protects the end of the antenna so nobody pokes their finger on it. But it also adds a little bit of realism because that's a real thing that a real military vehicle, this is what happens when you try and talk at 5 in the morning. A real vehicle would have on it. So just a little tip if you're ever needing something to stick on the end of your antennas. But time to get this thing finished up. I'm happy with how the weathering is turning out on this guy. But I'll admit, I'm ready to get beyond this model. I wasn't real happy with it in the assembly phase, so I'm looking forward to moving on.